Most of the security industry focuses its attention on tools for large businesses. There are EDRs and CASBs and IPS and NAC and WAFs and SIMs and SOARs and honeypots and UEBAs, to name a few. There are hundreds of pages of frameworks, which are just lists of good ideas about security, mostly about those same tools. There isn't as much aimed at small businesses. Most of the best practices described in those frameworks only make sense at huge organizations. What's more, the security tools advertised to small businesses don't do much. The goofiest thing about all this is that there are great solutions, easy ways to prevent internet crime that usually don't cost a dime. The problem is that they don't sell very well. I mean, they're usually free. So what kind of idiot would try to sell them? Us! At Simple Salt, we focus on advising you with the best, easiest process changes and the biggest security improvements. We carefully consider your unique profile and tolerance and advise you on what changes are actually worth your time. Our prices are also dramatically lower than most security consulting. We skip the biggest costs and you get better service. Here's some of what makes us different. First, no tech products. Most security consulting companies get a cut of whatever security tools they convince customers to buy. It takes sales reps time to keep current on product features, represent them well, manage contracts, register deals, and listen to product salespeople. We don't do any of that. Bonus, you don't have to worry about getting a garbage product recommendation just because it nets us more margin. We are solely invested in your best interest. Second, no sales staff. We don't have account executives with monthly quotas calling you up every week. Prices are published and the same for everybody. When you want services, you sign up and you talk with your analyst. Third, we're not afraid to give you good news. Most consulting companies think that scaring their clients with long lists of bad practices will ensure future business. We do not. If you're doing great, we say so. We strive for credible, accurate advice. Fourth, no lying to you. Many business consulting projects are for measuring the performance of some in-house capability at a big company, the security team, for instance. This generates some goofy incentives. The outside consultants want to prove their value to the leaders that hired them, so they need to find lots of bad practices and bad judgment and errors and failure. The team getting reviewed is judged by the consultant report. Favorable conclusions may lead to bigger bonuses, more staff, more budget, more staff pizza parties. Bad ones lead to cuts, often starting with the person leading the team. So, they argue against any negative conclusions found by the consultants, and the consultants argue for as many negative conclusions as possible. This last, arguing about the report stage, can be the most unpredictable and costly for consultants. So big consulting companies bake those costs into their pricing. We avoid those costs by not arguing, and you get the unvarnished truth. Finally, we have developed a proprietary method to quickly and rigorously assess the practical security risk in medium and small businesses. You benefit from that focus. We are able to offer the checkup service with the same rigor and quality as similar advisory services at a substantially lower cost.